All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, the 1010XL app, of course, live on Facebook and then shared everywhere throughout podcast land. And it's great to be here on a Friday inside the 1010XL podcast studios. My show brought to you by Team Tommy Mack, just a group of local and regional businesses that I personally endorse and promote, not only on this show, other shows, and all over social media. You see my swag on right here, Code Ninjas, where coding is cool. I tell you what, I don't know if I'd have been into it as a kid just because we weren't into that kind of thing. However, knowing what I know now, I would have liked to been into it, because when you finish the program at Code Ninjas, or your kid does, and they start as early as 5, they're like ready to almost, I think, can get a job in the field, coding, they're working with AI, they're doing all types of stuff, building games, building through, like Roblox and things like that. Anyway, they've got camps this summer. Make sure you go to codeninjas.com, 4 locations. Great to have their swag on. I just put it on over this because my original swag is the Tom Coughlin J Fund, because I have to take a moment just to say congratulations on the phenomenal success of the J Fund wine tasting event. Everybody involved, Coach, of course, Kelly, all the team at the J Fund, all the team at Adaptive Jacks, including my daughter Avery, who helped put on the show. They had a record-setting night, and it was absolutely fantastic. Out in the middle of TIAA Bank Field, or Everbank. What is it now? Everbank? It's Everbank, isn't it? Good morning, Grammage.
Everbank.
How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Everbank.
Actually, sorry. It's now Everbank Stadium.
Stadium.
It was Everbank Field back in the day.
Okay, now it's
then
Stadium.
It became TIAA Bank Field, and now it's Everbank Stadium.
Well, the VIP or the sponsor party before was in the locker room, the Jags home locker room. Feels like a spaceship in there, man. It's wild. They got a great locker room. Anyway, and I know the Miller one's even better. They had Jay McGillis, who the fund is named after, who I played with at Boston College, had his jersey from BC up in a locker all by itself, his helmet or a helmet, bunch of pictures, one with me included, which I was honored to see, and so cool. But what a great event. Then we all walked out into the tunnel, out through the tunnel, onto the field, and everything was right there. They had band playing, they were dancing, there's a ton of food. Just a great night had by all. Coach Coughlin still getting the work in. You could say the Jags are getting some work in, signing guys, letting others go. Of course, Ezra Cleveland, one of the latest, although word is they might be restructuring Brandon Scherff's contract to keep him around. Ezra signs a 3-year deal, $28.5 million deal with $14.5 of it guaranteed. And to me, that's really the number, and Pro Football Talk does a great job. They broke it down. A lot of those are incentive. His full $28.5 million is very incentive-based, especially after year one.
Only around half of it is guaranteed.
Yeah, 14.5, yeah, just about, a little bit more than half, but and that's the number for a player. I mean, that's you're guaranteed that number no matter what, so that gives you a ton of security. Good for Ezra. Hey, man, I'm happy for the guy. Look, I want to see what he can still do. I'm not saying he's my answer. I mean, look, he came in, week 9? He's very athletic. The guy is very athletic. I thought for the minimal amount of time he played at left tackle, I thought he held his own okay. He does have that athleticism. And you know what? Maybe this is the kind of guard that they want in the system. They want an athletic, pulling type guard who can get out in front, who's big enough to at least chip away, but maybe not mountain man move guys out of the way, right? It's more about positioning. It's more about timing. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something, but in comparison, and we'll get through the other for the Jags, Kevin Dotson of the Rams signs a 3-year deal. They re-sign him. Did you see his deal number?
Uh-huh.
All right, so we just said Ezra, 3-year, $28.5 million with $14.5 guaranteed. Kevin Dotson, 3-year, $48 million with $32 million guaranteed. Think of that difference. Think of that. Both play guard. They both play guard. So you take that how you want to take it. Maybe, and good for Ezra. He got $7 million as a signing bonus, I think. So that's nice. And the rest is all guaranteed for him as long as he can. Or it's just guaranteed. Look, I hope he's a fit. by the way, this whole notion we get a center will make the guard, or we get better guards, the center will play better. It's so ridiculous. I'm not saying they don't help each other out, but the center's got to be able to stand on his own. There's plenty of times where he's one-on-one, has nothing to do with the guard. Plenty of times. These trapdoor excuses drive me insane. Oh, no, all we need is just 2 good guards in the center. Be that much better. Really? What happens when the center's one-on-one on an island by himself? Huh? Does he get help? And both guards split because that's the way they go. That's the way their bend goes. You know, like, come on, get it together. They do work together on a double team. The guard can help the center, right, with a nice smash. Make sure he helps the center control him, then go off on the backer, or vice versa. Smash him, and the center goes off onto the backer, and then you take the lineman in front of you. Yeah, they work together, but the center's got to be on his own merit. I don't agree with that at all. You do have to upgrade center. There are some veteran free agents out there. If, in my opinion, I'd go that route and spend my draft pick on something else. I'm at least at 17. I'm not looking for a center at 17. I know I've seen a couple mocks where the kid out of Oregon's up that high. I still wouldn't take him. I just go get a veteran. The guy from Buffalo just got released. The center from the Rams is out there. There's about 6-7 of them. Money you got to figure out, but if you're gonna upgrade Fortner, which is a question mark, I would go free agency rather than the draft, especially at number 17. Now we have more needs. We have other needs, right? Ridley's gone. He's gone. Unless we're going to overpay him. You're going to pay him what he's going to warrant? I don't think we will. I don't think if we do, good. I wanted him back in the first place. It's a shame they couldn't get, Josh Allen's deal done. Look, none of us are in the negotiation, so he didn't start soon enough. Okay, maybe that could be very warranted. I don't know. Maybe the other side is pushing back. I don't know. Maybe they're like, no, we want more. We want this. We want, we want to set we don't know the negotiation, do we? How do we know Josh Allen didn't go in there and say, hey, I want to be Bosa or higher, for lack of a better term? I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he's like, how do we know he didn't say, hey, I'll take less than Sweat? Well, because they didn't sign him. Because if he said, I take less than Sweat, he'd be signed to a deal.
I was going to say, that's how we know that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I don't know. Everyone's bitching and moaning about it.
I get
it.
$24 million a year.
Yeah.
He would have signed a deal.
And look, he shot himself in the foot at the one press conference when he said, we haven't really talked yet. Why even say that? That's kind of dumb to say that. But nonetheless, they tagged Josh. He's here. Maybe they work a deal out like they did with Ingram. I hope so. But Ridley's gone. So do you spend a 17 on another weapon that you need? You definitely need a speed guy like Ridley is and was for this team. Look, I don't make the calls. You know how I felt about it. I wanted to see too much upside, too much meat left on the bone to just let him walk out of here, in my opinion. I would have done everything I could to get Allen done and then tag Ridley and then figure out the rest. That's just the way I would have gone.
In my opinion, it's almost a foregone conclusion. They're taking corner at 17.
Well, they let go Darius Williams, and I know, look, he had a good year and good call on that, Grammage, but with Darius Williams had a great year. We were talking to him throughout the year. Remember, early on, maybe even past midway, Pro Bowl type year. They were getting consistent pressure then. And then that stopped happening consistently, right? So maybe Ryan Nielsen says, you know what? I like the guy, but he's not the kind of corner I want. I want the build like Tyson. Tyson's got a lot to prove. It's funny how guys go from studs to duds in 1 year. All of a sudden he can't play anymore. I think the injury, and I'm not an excuse guy, but you can't open your gate as a corner without feeling that pain, I think it was a hamstring or a groin. It's a problem. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I'm still definitely upgrading the room. There's no doubt in my mind. I've got to have, if I want a press corner, then get me a press corner. If that's how I can make this whole thing work and I'm pretending I'm Ryan Nielsen, then go get me a corner. Maybe the kid from Clemson who ran a ridiculous 40.
Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins. Yeah, hurt his Nate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hurt his hamstring, I think, pulled it a little bit. But look, his tape and all the accolades, he's there. Now you know he can fly, so that helps. But you got to be physical. Like I look at my boy Bees. Like you see Bees on occasion. When you hug Bees or shake his hand, he's still at his age. He's a big guy, and he played corner. And he could press. I mean, his arms were long, strength in his hands, just good feet, knew how to play, had a little swag. I mean, that's the kind of guy you need to play corner. You need to have all that, right? So we'll see what they do. But I would look, I think there's so many needs. I don't know if I'm going to critique anything unless it's way out of the box thinking. You know what I mean? At number 17, if you grabbed the tackle, I'd be okay with that, you know? If you upgraded your defensive line, although I think they should go free agent, great. You need it. You know, you get a corner, awesome. You need it. You know what I mean? You get a wide receiver that can stretch the field and make plays downfield for your quarterback, great. We need it. I mean, it's unbelievable that we have all these needs after a year ago where, no, we got it all. We don't need much. Clearly, they were wrong.
This all stems from draft pick misses.
Yeah.
This is where this all comes from. Yeah. Because, listen, like, I understand they've cut some free agents they signed a couple years ago, and people will look at it and say, oh, that's a failure because they cut this guy. Not really, in my opinion, because free agency, expensive free agents are meant to be short-term rentals, typically.
Yeah.
Very rarely does a guy come as a pretty high-priced free agent and then end up being here for 10 years. That's not usually how it works.
Right.
Like, I think Rashawn Jenkins had a successful career in Jacksonville.
Yeah, very much
especially because a cheap, viable replacement seems to be in the building.
Yeah. Got him on his second contract, too, right?
Right.
Yep.
And now Antonio Johnson, who doesn't cost the team very much at all, can replace him.
Yeah.
But there's not enough Antonio Johnsons on the team. That's the issue. There's not a clear-cut guy to replace Darius Williams. There's not a clear-cut guy to replace Foye Oluokun right now, who you're obviously going to keep around.
Yep.
There's not a clear-cut guy to replace Foley Fatukasi, who you just cut.
Yep.
There's not – Tank Bigsby should be making it obvious that Travis Etienne will never get a really expensive contract here.
Yep. Right.
But right now – you would never
say
everything.
That. No, absolutely not.
It's the draft misses are the issue here.
Yeah.
And that's why all these holes exist.
Well, they've built up I'm going back to our grades. The first draft was good. It was. Now Trevor's a no-brainer, but the others were good, and they've been solid draft picks, but the last 2 years are bad. Now, granted, this past year we don't know for sure, but Anton's basically the number one guy, Antonio Johnson, like you said. I love Antonio Johnson. I said that from the minute I saw him at camp. I'm like, I like this kid. I think, look, and I know a lot of people are like, Rashawn didn't tackle well towards the end. I'm like, nobody did. You getting rid of Oluokun because he didn't tackle well either towards the end. None of those guys. You get rid of everybody. Now, you do have a replacement, or you believe you have his replacement, who is cheaper and younger. It is still that kind of game. Now, Rashawn's going to get picked up. Foley's already being looked at by other teams. I've seen Bills. I've seen Texans. Watch the Texans load up and watch him have like a resurrection of his career and totally kick the crap out of our O-line, twice a year. Unbelievable. I don't know. Look, it's too early to get too excited, you know what I mean? Because what is said and what is done, you never know if they're the same thing, So let's see what the draft, let's see what they do in free agency. I'm hoping they're somewhat aggressive, especially on the interior of the lines. I mean, think about that. Like, if you could, and the cap fits, right? You still got work to do, but just say the cap fits. If you could grab one of the centers and grab Wilkins, let's just say you could. And had the money to do it, and they accept. Now think about that. Now you're at 17, you're like, now it's luxury. I just took care of my two biggest needs. I just took care of my interior O-line and D-line that will change my offensive and defensive line completely. Those kind of guys can do, you know what I mean? Is there a corner out there that's a veteran? I haven't really looked. I should have looked, but I didn't really look. If there's a veteran corner out there. Now, Snead, do you trade for Snead? I don't know. Word is it's only a second round. I don't know if I believe that. Then you got to pay him big money. I like him. He's the kind of corner that Ryan Nielsen probably likes, right? Can get in your face. He's long. He's fast. He's got, good, powerful, grip and strength, upper body, and can move with the best of them. That's the kind of guy you want. But to me, free agency, Grammage, get that O-line and D-line right. Upgrade it.
Well, by the way, you mentioned this a minute ago about if you went and got a veteran center, you need to get the money for him. And, potentially the Ridley deal is going to be pretty expensive. So if you want to keep him around, you're going to have to overpay him some.
Yep.
By the way, you can create easily the money to pay a center and probably have some $1 million left over if you cut Cam Robinson.
Yeah, correct.
$16 million in savings.
Yep.
In my opinion, I don't have an issue with Cam being here next year, but he better restructure.
Okay. Well, listen, I think they're doing Scherff now. I think he's next.
They have to.
They have to do something. They're not going to just let that number sit there.
You cannot justifiably understanding the amount you can save and understanding the dollars you could allocate that to elsewhere.
Right.
It would be malpractice to let Cam Robinson play on this team under the current contract he's about to play when and you've said publicly Anton Harrison can play left tackle.
Could play left tackle.
It would be malpractice.
And there's never a guarantee, but Cam hasn't played. Has he ever played a full? Yeah, he did a couple years ago. He played a full 16
I think
or 17.
2021 he played a full
Yeah,
year.
I think he did too. Hey, injuries happen. They suck. I mean, I got injured twice. It sucks. You can't control them, but you become damaged goods.
And it's the truth.
And it's the truth. I don't expect him to get suspended again, so that'll go. You don't have that hanging over your head right before the draft. Great timing. You know what I mean? But he's definitely got to do something there because, again, if you can guarantee, like I said a couple weeks on this show, like guarantee me 15 games for Cam, but the 2 that he misses aren't like playoffs or towards the end of the year. Get him away, week 3, week 5, he's back and he's healthy. I'd take that at his number if it all fits and you get everybody else you want. That's what the concern is. And my thinking is this: if they're restructuring Scherff, they're going to restructure Cam.
I agree.
I think so.
I just don't believe there's no way Trent Baalke is going to look at understanding he can save $16 million, understanding the other needs he needs to allocate dollars to, and not do something about. There's just no way. So if you restructure Cam, you won't save $16 million in that scenario, but say you save
half.
Yeah, say you save $8.
That's a big chunk.
$8 million can go get me a center.
No, easily.
Yeah. And again, probably have $1 or $2 million left over. And at least help with the Calvin Ridley situation.
Well, and then Scherff, whatever his is going to end up being, right? So he's restructuring. So that maybe
I didn't
comes
love the
down.
Scherff restructure.
I don't. I never want to being a former player. I'm not going to sit here and be like, Scherff should hang it up. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, he didn't have a good. And by the way, these stats, they don't mean nothing to me. I swear, you could tell by your eyes whether they played well or not. Now,
PFF has him
84% been pass block. You're like, really? I don't recall 84, maybe 74.
I recall Trevor with 4 injuries.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what
None of them. I mean, the only one you could say is maybe Anton, consistently performed at a pretty good level. I'm not going to say elite level, but for a rookie and who he had to go against, and is that all that? Yeah, and played with the shoulder injury, for the record, which had to bother him. He was the most consistent one out of all the 5.
Didn't have a lot of penalties.
No,
Clean
he was good,
football.
man. He was good, and
he had
it's
to
got to be in the conversation. He can play left. We know he can play left, so why not make that move?
This is what confuses me about the Cam Robinson thing. If Trent Baalke doesn't plan on, that was either he said, because he said it publicly. Trent Baalke says things for a reason, in my opinion. He's been around this long enough to where I think it's fair to say that Trent Baalke very rarely says things with like slip ups.
Yeah.
He's very intentional with what he says. Besides maybe the I haven't talked to Josh thing. I think he kind of let the
dude.
That was kind of dumb to say. But the Anton, when he said Anton can play left, he said that deliberately.
Right. It means something.
That means he's either A, wanting to gain leverage for a Cam Robinson restructure.
Possibly.
Or he plans on cutting him.
Or he knows he can move him to the left if that's the way. What if Cam doesn't want to restructure?
Then you cut
and
let me
ask you this: if Cam doesn't get suspended last year, do you still feel the same? Say those games he was healthy and played. Do you still feel the same?
I still feel the same because he still got hurt midway through the year.
I feel the same too. But he played 8 games last year, right?
I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
And 4 was the suspension.
4 the miss games.
The misses out of the 9.
Mm-hmm.
So he missed 5. Yeah, that's a lot of games without your starting left tackle, especially with a young. He's going to have to do something.
Cam is not an old player, but he's not a young player.
No, but listen, if he's healthy,
like
I love Cam Robinson. I do.
I do too.
He's a good enough, solid. But the year before, when we were raving about him, he played extremely well.
He did.
And the suspension happened. Then didn't have a great year. None of them really had a great year, except like we said, Anton.
What's amazing is we've had this conversation so many times on this podcast, and yet again, think about what name we have not mentioned one time in the tackle conversation.
Oh, well, yeah, Walker. Yeah.
Haven't said his name.
They don't mention him
a damn time.
They don't mention him.
That is a bust of a pick at this point. I think it's fair to say
they took a very high pick, took a big risk. It's just a shame because the kid's got all the tools. It's
in fairness to him,
he doesn't. Go ahead. I didn't.
Sorry. In fairness to him, they've played him they've just shuffled him around.
They're trying to find his spot.
Yeah.
Because why? Because he's a giant. Because he's really athletic. He's really flexible. He's Baselli big. He's got Baselli's speed and quickness and all that. He just doesn't have the gumption to go dominate somebody. I don't know. I don't know him. I feel bad. Like, I don't know him that well. I've met him a few times. Great kid. I got none of it, by the way. And I know, what did we hear? Fortner. I heard last Friday with Tony on Jaguars Today that Fortner said something about the noise outside bothered him, like listening to people critique him, criticize. Man, players, don't listen. Even me. Don't. It's my opinion. It's not personal. I want everybody that's playing in the league to stay healthy and make as much money as you can, because one day it's over. And you better hope you've done well enough to where you can figure out the rest of your life. Not everyone gets to retire and do nothing. But today's day and age especially, you got a better chance of that. Focus on other things like your health and your family and whatnot. Maybe get into some kind of business down, you know what I mean? So take care of that. Mine's never personal. It does bother me when guys, look, the old school was what? It was toughness. It was physicality. It was, vicious. When's the last? I can't say that. The Super Bowl teams played viciously. You know what I mean? There are teams that do, but it's not like it used to be. And I don't think I don't want to give Walker an excuse, but in Doug's zone blocking, it's not about taking your guy and driving him into the ground. It's about taking your guy, and if you got to reach him, that your guy behind you is going to grab him after you reach him. You know what I mean? It all goes together. And you don't have to be a big bruiser and, because you're getting them with movement. When you have big guys up front, you want them to move sideways to sideways. Why? Because when I cut back, there's too much weight for them to cut back. You want to get them moving so you can make a cut. So maybe that's what they want.
It's like that Le'Veon Bell clip with Malik Jackson.
I don't know if I saw
that clip back in 2017 when Malik Jackson on the Jags and they played the Steelers. He's like talking mess to Le'Veon Bell before a play.
Yeah.
He's like, I got you today. Yeah. And Le'Veon Bell hits him with a nasty juke.
Yeah.
And Malik Jackson's mic'd up. He gets juked to the play. He goes, oh.
Yeah.
And he falls over.
Malik was a great player.
It's hilarious, though. It's the same cutback, though.
Yeah.
Malik's going one way, and Le'Veon cuts.
It's hard for those big guys to change direction very quickly. They can change it. And if it's short, if they only go a little bit, but you get them moving, and I don't mean shuffling. I mean, they're thinking you're going that way and shing back, forget about it. All you got to do is keep your hands on them. They're not going to do anything. So maybe that's that whole philosophy. That's why they like Fortner, because he's athletic. They're counting on him getting stronger. They're counting on him getting better. I know what the public opinion says, right? Oh, by the way, is his grade, does it match the eye test? Or do we just kind of selectively pick who we think is playing good or not? You know what I mean? They all didn't play good. We said that. Anyway, I hope they figure it out. And hey, look, if Scherff, stays, I want him to be great. I was raving about him in camp. He was the one guy that would come off the line of scrimmage, and even though they were holding pads, he had some viciousness to him. Because you have to. You got to whack that nose guard as hard as you can, or the guy in front of you, to get anything going when they're right on top of you, right? So I want to see that return. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. I don't know. I felt like it almost, and he's a tough guy. He can bounce back from injury, but he seemed to get dinged up. Maybe not injured, but dinged up. But hey, I hope they figure it out. I think they're going to still address, hopefully it's free agency. I would still address the guard position in the draft. I don't know if I get a Christian Wilkins, I don't know if I'm worried about DT for a while, right? At least for this year. Guy falls in our lap that's rated high, and you got to have him. I'm talking about in the draft. Yeah, fine, but that's not like a focal point for me. But guard still would be if I even get a center. Make sense?
Yeah, but
not at 17. But whatever they end up picking, second, third.
But I mean, that guy has no chance to start. They just paid Ezra, and they're about to restructure Scherff, which tells us he's going to be here.
Yeah.
Well,
first of all, we don't know what the restructure is, right? Look, I'll tell you how they feel about Ezra. That's great, but compared to the other guy, it's peanuts. Not peanuts, but double or half.
But it's still more than a drafted guard would have been.
Yeah.
So, which tells me that they value him being here and starting on this line.
I agree with that, and I would agree with them restructuring Scherff to keep him here. He's going to be a starter, not your backup. But can you count on Scherff to play all year?
No.
Cooper Hodges?
You can count on him to play. You can't count on him to play well.
Cooper Hodges, maybe. We don't know about him. I don't know. They just drafted, right? Or is he undrafted? Might have been undrafted.
I don't remember. He was either 7th round or undrafted.
Well, anyway, it'll be interesting how they fix that interior of the offensive line. Ridley, now in open water, as I call it. He's anybody's game. Around the league, Justin Simmons, released by Denver, had they saved $14.5 million. He had like an $18 million cap. I think it was the highest in the safety position. 8 years old with Denver, former Boston College graduate and player. You rolling with Antonio?
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah, I'm not paying.
Someone's going to pick him up, though. A good team will pick him up, I bet, and he'll be starting for him, and he'll be a difference. We saw what he hurt us a couple times.
Yep.
He's a good player.
But I'm not paying a safety.
No, that's big money. Yeah, I wouldn't either. I'm rolling with. I'm good now that you got rid of Rayshawn, which I don't know if I would have, but I get it. It's a savings, and you need to clear up some cap. Do you think they'd let Justin Simmons go if his cap wasn't so high?
Of course not.
No, they'd be like, "Oh, you're a
These
guy, but we can't afford you, and we can't. Your restructure would cost us too much, and we just can't do it. So we're going to let someone else take it."
Jenkins was cheaper; he'd still be in Jacksonville.
Right. Fair enough.
And Rayshawn Jenkins is not Justin Simmons, but
I know. Yeah. Listen,
This comes back to the whole draft thing.
Yeah.
This is why all these needs exist.
Well, Cisco and Johnson are draft picks, so if they work out, those are good picks.
And there should be a lot more of those guys across the roster.
There should
is
be.
The point. Like, Scherff right now should have a clear, second-year guy replacement right now from the draft a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
That, Jags feel good about.
Okay.
Everyone feels good. The same thing with Calvin Ridley. Why is there such a meltdown about potentially losing Calvin Ridley? It's because there's no one behind him.
Yeah.
What if, again, we've talked about this guy before, what if the Jags, instead of Tank Bigsby, had drafted Puka Nacua?
Well,
you think the fan base...
Right.
I know that's not totally fair to say.
Second round and fifth, or third round and fifth. Wasn't Puka a fifth-round pick?
Yeah, and he was a diamond in the rough. I get it, for sure.
Yeah.
And guys like that don't always come around. But there were a lot of good receivers available in later rounds that they didn't, and they didn't get one. You
could also say that Osiris Torrance would have handled your guard issue.
Yes, correct.
All right,
100%.
Ezra wouldn't even be here.
Absolutely.
He probably wouldn't even be here.
And that
makes sense.
Anyone obviously can play the game of you drafted this guy before this guy, whatever. Yeah. But the overall point is there were other players that could have been drafted instead of the ones that got drafted here that would have been bigger hits.
Yeah.
And expensive free agents leaving because you have to cut them.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be leaving these giant holes.
You know, I wonder too. That's definitely valid points. But did the Jaguars? You know, look, it's known throughout. It happened to us in '99. You go after all the free agents. You load up, thinking you're gonna make a run at the big show, and when you don't get there after a year or two, you gotta unload. That's what Coughlin had to do. He had to unload. He unloaded Tony Baselli. Think about that. Now, Tony was injured. He had some injuries, but, you know, they felt like he could still play. Houston felt like that. Obviously, he cleared the medical, right? I don't think he ever played for them, but they unloaded Baselli. They unloaded Hollis. They unloaded McCardell. I mean, those were big-time players for the Jags, but what did they had to do it. They went for the run. Didn't work. We lost, you know, we know the story. So now we got to start over. Are we in a start over? You know what I mean? Look, I don't know if we can answer that yet because let's see what they do in free agency. Will there be a splash? I mean, let me ask you this, Graham. If they think they're running it back with the O-line, do they think they're running it back other than Foley being out of here with the D-line that they have? Hamilton, RRH, Gotsis, is that? I don't know. We question the O-line.
Kind of seems like it.
You know what? Well, we don't know because free agency. Let's see what they do in free agency. You got to at least give them a window. You know, we don't agree with everything. You know how I feel about how I would have protected Ridley and tried to get something done. But again, I'm not in the room, and we don't know Josh Allen's, requirements or what he expects.
I agree with you with the Coughlin comparison back in '99, and going after all the free agents, and it shortens your window, but it increases your chances.
Because you're getting all these guys. You take the risk. It's worth the risk.
Right.
If you win.
Right. The problem is I never have gotten the sense in these last couple of years that they've really gone all in on that. Yep. So if you're going to go all in if you're going to do that, then go all in. Get as good of a roster as you possibly can. Because I feel
Don't you think they had that with Ridley, though? I mean, that's why they traded for him. They thought he was – come on. Everyone thought that. When he stepped foot during camp, everyone raved about Calvin Ridley and how fast he is and how he runs his routes and what a great weapon he's going to be, right? And then word gets out, he's forgetting plays, he's missing things, he's dropping, and everyone's saying he's out of here. He sucks. Not good enough.
But I also think if they were really – pushing all the chips in, then they would have traded for Danielle Hunter last year.
I think they tried, though.
And they would have.
They tried.
I think they would have gotten more people. They would have done more. They did almost nothing in free agency last year, besides Ridley, obviously. I think they would have made some moves for something else.
But they did it the year before. Think all the free agents they brought in, right? So maybe at that, what did they think? Look at the way they finished 22, right? It was incredible. It was. We thought they were out, like done, cooked, forget. Then they go on a run, and we're all like, holy cow, guys are playing well. You know, guys are making plays. Trevor's making plays. You know what I mean? And then you finish at 9-8. And by the way, you went toe-to-toe with KC. And you had a chance to win. I'm not going to say you should have won, but you had a chance. So you go into the offseason. By the way, it's blinder thinking now. You got to think wider, right? You can't have tunnel vision. You're thinking, well, let's renew this guy. Let's do this guy. Let's make sure they're all happy. Let's bring him back. Oh, by the way, we got Ridley coming, right? He's going to be unbelievable. Our offensive line was what in 2022? One of the best in the league, top 7 maybe, right? They were expecting these big things. We all were. And it was working for a while. They were 8-2, 8-3, and then collapse. I've always said it too. It wasn't like their talent just went out the window. Something happened with the psyche and the emotion in the locker room. Something went down. Maybe not preparing enough. That's my guess because there was too many guys out of position on both sides of the ball. You get fat and happy. You don't work out as hard. You don't condition as much. You don't study as much. You go hit the club or the bar. You just want to go home and forget about it and play with the kid, whatever your bag is, right? You don't put it all in like you did to get to that point. Philly did it too. You saw what Jalen Hurts said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, yeah, we just too much other stuff going on. Like your job's to be quarterback and your job's to win football games. How about them? I mean, if you listen to Philly radio talking about the Eagles, are you kidding me? They crushed them this year, and they should have. 10-1 to the way they finished. Something happens inside that whole culture, psyche, whatever you want to call it, and I think it happened to us. Now the question is, these releases, you got to replace them, like Graham had said earlier. Got to replace them with better players. Or, I'm not expecting that much. I don't know what to expect, but I want to see what they do. Okay, they're making moves for a reason. They're clearing up cap space for a reason. Who are they targeting? We can all guess. We can all think maybe. Make educated guesses. Let's see who they look. I'll tell you right now, if they bring in a Wilkins, or a center that's an upgrade, that's proven that he can play, I'm feeling pretty good. I still want more. We still need more. But now you can get really creative and flexible with that draft. You just bolstered your O-line and D-line. What was the number one problem last year? O-line and D-line. Get their asses kicked half the time.
The interior of the O-line and D-line in particular.
Right, especially, right, in all fairness.
And you're getting Wilkins as, a 3-tech and then center?
Wilkins would be an absolute monster. It looks like the other guy that I like, Williams, is going to stay in Seattle. Schneider said he's a priority. He ain't going anywhere. Leonard Williams, thank you, the former Giant. I had my Giants friend. I got to go because I got to get on Jaguars today. My Giants friend, Doug, who listens to the show, he called me last night. He's like, bro, we're hearing rumors. And he was being dead serious. The Giants are looking at your Josh Allen. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we don't like Thibodeau. He's like, takes plays off. And I'm just like, wow. I don't see that happening. No way. Not unless you trade. Right now, you got to trade for him if you want him and pay him the big money. All right, that's going to do it for me this time around on a Friday. Brought to you by Team Tommy Mac, the group of local and regional businesses that I am honored to represent. Of course, Code Ninjas. Go to codeninjas.com. Check out their summer camps, parents. Great spot for your kids. Michael Nickus is State Farm. He does, auto, home, supplemental health, and life. He's been my agent for a long, long time. Beachside Rentals, also owners of the Salt Air Inn and Suites. Check it out, boutique hotel concierge service. Solomon Ventures, they got something for everyone at lower than wholesale prices. I'm talking home consumer goods, indoor and out, clothes, food included. Carpet Man, LVP. Yeah, that's right. More than just LVP. They've got the highest quality in all kinds of flooring at the lowest prices. Azar Sausage, you know how good it is. By the way, on Winn-Dixie, the last week in March, Winn-Dixie's having a special. Make sure you stay tuned to that. Some of the best sausage you'll ever have. Graffiti Burger Bar, they're turning it over into a family-themed sports bar. Stay tuned for more great food and great service. J-Dog, junk removal and hauling. That hauling business, all you contractors, roofers, you're looking for a group that'll come in and they'll leave their canister, you fill it up, they'll take it out of there, they'll make sure it's all cleaned up, and they're veteran-owned and operated. Never a bad thing to be associated with that. And to all my friends out there, it is Friday, so I have to give you this public service announcement. If you get thrown in the clink, which I hope you don't, but if you do, my friend Chris Lucero and his bail bonds team will get you out in a blink. The number one name in the bail game, 904-822-2245, 822-2245. Make sure you keep that number in your phone for any of your friends that have a mistake, and hopefully they don't. Drive safe, be smart out there, and have a great week. And until next time, stay safe and be cool. We'll see you right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Peace.